I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Here on another Monday, and the rifle I have sitting in front of me is a Remington 700 SPS-Tactical AAC-SD. This is basically our budget precision project in a different set of clothes. It is now sitting in an XLR Industries carbon chassis. We've been working with this chassis for a little while, and we're about ready to turn out the full review on it. It's a very nice piece of gear, but that is not why we're here on this Monday. I've been getting a lot of questions here lately about bolt knobs. Now, as you notice on this rifle here, it has just the standard Remington bolt knob. We have not upgraded the bolt knob on it at all. And a lot of people send the questions in about, when do I need a bigger bolt knob? When do I need one of the big old tactical bolt knobs? Do I even need one? And it's going to depend upon your individual situation and how you like to drive the rifle. In some of our other videos, I demonstrated a couple of different ways to run the bolt on the rifle, and each one of those ways favors a little bit different setup. Now, the standard grip it and rip it setup is really what large bolt knobs are more oriented for. The guy that wants to come up here and just grab a hold of the bolt knob when he cycles it. Now, when you're doing that, this little tiny knob really doesn't fit well in between the pinchers of your hand. It's a small target to hit, to grab when you're going to run that. So if you're going to run with that kind of bolt style, then a larger bolt knob will assist you. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind when you grab that bolt knob like that, this thumb up here has got this big old knuckle on it, and when you bring it up, it's very easy on some setups to pinch that thumb between the ocular bell of the scope and the bolt knob, and then you're not really able to get it back. One of the things that you have to kind of do is rotate your hand outward when you bring it up and come back. That way you don't get that thumb inboard and jammed into that bell. I have on occasion, when I was testing a different setup, run the bolt fast and rip the skin off the outside of my knuckle. One of the scopes I have has a really heavy-duty knurled ring around the eyepiece, and it just stripped the skin right off. It was really a nasty deal. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, if you like to use the bladed hand technique, where you just come up and lift it and then hook your fingers and drive the bolt back and then push forward, well, then a great big huge bolt knob really doesn't give you a ton of extra benefit there. It does give you a little bit larger target to hit on the way up, but really I haven't found large bolt knobs to be a massive benefit when you're running the bolt in that manner. When you use the third method that I demonstrated in our previous video, where you're just grabbing it, you're going for absolute top speed, and you're tripping the trigger with your middle finger instead of with your index finger, then a big bolt knob can work on that. But it's a very, very specialized technique, and it really isn't used that often in most of our types of shooting. There are some European shooting events where that technique is very well suited. It's a very rapid technique, but it does not lend itself to a high degree of precision. So it's not something that we see used very often here in American competitions. Now, if you decide you want to add a large tactical bolt knob to a standard Remington 700 bolt, then there are a couple of different ways to go about it. The recommended way to do it is to just ship your whole bolt off to a company like Badger Ordnance or GA Precision or Tac Ops and have them go ahead and install it for you. That's usually going to run somewhere around $100 with the bolt knob included. It may be slightly different depending upon who you go through and which style of bolt knob you choose, but it's going to be ballpark right around that figure. Some guys decide that they're going to try to save some money, and what they'll do is they'll take their bolt knob and they'll grab a Dremel tool, and they'll use the Dremel to cut the bolt knob into a round stem, and then they'll go grab a die from the hardware store and they'll thread it to the specs of the bolt knob with the die and then glue their bolt knob on there. That is probably the least precise way to do it, and you really, by eyeballing it, you may get the knob at one angle or another angle. I've seen some really funky angles on bolt knobs when guys have done that. I would prefer to send it off to a gunsmith that has the proper jig to set it up in a mill or in a lathe and cut your nice round stem. But you know, it's up to you. The problem with the Remington bolt handles, and why you often see bolt knobs broken off of Remington handles, is this is a cast piece here. It's not forged metal, it's cast, so there can be little air bubbles, little voids in the handle. The handle really wasn't designed to be machined. It was designed to come off the way it is and then be stuck onto your bolt. So when you get in there and you start machining this stuff away, you may break into a void and you may have all kinds of problems there. So that's one of the reasons you may not want to try to add one of these big tactical bolt handles. Now, different companies like Tac Ops, I know, is a big fan of drilling the bolt handle, and then they'll install a threaded insert into the bolt handle that extends, and then the bolt knob screws onto that. And that can solve part of the void issue if you run into a bolt handle that actually has a void. Not all of them do, but it's a possibility. Now, there is a company that makes a very simple home solution that I'm pretty fond of. It's Kinetic Research Group, or KRG. They produce a product called the Bolt Lift, and I've reviewed these before on our site. We're going to install one here real quick for you. They come in these nice little metal tins. They run just under 30 bucks. You can pick them up on KRG's website, and we'll leave a link in the description below. You get your little instruction sheet, and you get a neat little KRG decal in the box. The Bolt Lift is just simply a polymer bolt handle. Let me squeeze it out of the Ziploc bag here. And what you get is you get an Allen screw, you get two polymer, let me dump my O-rings out here, you get two polymer halves which fit together with these little steel retaining pins in a clamshell type manner, and it screws on to your bolt handle. Now, this is really a neat setup, and in fact it's so easy to install you don't even have to remove your bolt handle if you don't want to. Now, all we do is we grab our bolt handle here, we pick the appropriate O-ring. They give you 4 O-rings, 2 large and 2 small. Pick the appropriate O-ring, we drop it into 1/2, and the half with the brass insert and the pegs is the one that goes on top. So we take our one insert and just simply stick it over the bolt handle, and you see it really encapsulates the bolt handle pretty well. Take our other O-ring, we're going to set it on top there. Take our other half, set it on top, and press it together. And it may take a little bit of wiggling to get those metal dowel pins started, but then they'll fit in there. Bring your bolt handle all the way up, grab your Allen screw, grab our driver here, and we're going to go ahead and start it. And we're just going to go ahead and screw it in. And just go ahead and snug it down real nice and tight. Now, it is a brass insert, so you don't want to crank down on it really crazy, but you snug it down pretty well. And now you saw how quick and easy that was to install. Now we have an extended bolt handle, and for a chassis like the XLR Industries here, this works really well because you're running a pistol grip down here, so you're going to have to transition from down here to up on the bolt, and it runs really nicely. Now, the added advantage of the bolt handle on this setup is it moves my thumb away from the ocular bell, so I'm not as likely to grind my thumb against the scope when I'm running that bolt really fast. It gives you a little extra added leverage since you've added about 1/2 inch to the length of your bolt handle here. So you come out and grab on the end. It may make it a little bit easier for that new bolt to run. Take your O-rings that you didn't use and just drop them back in the tin. The reason for the different size O-rings is the earlier Remington bolts, the bolt handles were a little bit different shape, and those O-rings will work for the older Remington bolts, and the smaller O-rings work for the newer Remington bolts. But they fit on there really well, and the advantage of this is for 30 bucks you get to try out a large bolt handle, and if for some reason you decide you want something that's a little bit more permanent, then you can pull this off. You can send off your bolt to Badger or to GA Precision or Tac Ops again and have a regular bolt handle installed. What I find though is once I actually started working with these bolt handles is I didn't really see a whole lot of need to do that because they work great. If you're one of those guys that just really has to have another line on your build sheet and you want to talk about a high-speed, low-drag bolt knob, then fine, go ahead and send it off and get one. But the KRG bolt knob works very, very well. I think it looks pretty sharp on some of the current chassis. If you had a really streamlined, sleek rifle, then maybe it would look a little bit out of place, and you might want to go with something like a Badger bolt knob. But it's a very nice setup, very, very cost-effective. And of course the biggest plus is if you get it on there and you decide you just really don't like the way a big bolt knob works, or that you really didn't need it, then it takes you 30 seconds to pull it back off, throw it in the tin, and you're only out 30 bucks. Not a bad deal at all. So if you want more information on the KRG Bolt Lift, then we'll leave the link in the description below. Go ahead, and if you have any questions about it, leave them in the comment section or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you like the video, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you're a subscriber, thank you. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Helps us out and helps our numbers, and manufacturers like to see that little subscribers ticker going up. So if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not, please take a minute and click that button. It doesn't cost you anything, and YouTube will let you know when we release new videos. For those of you that are wondering, we will get the review of the XLR carbon chassis out here very quickly. It's a very nice setup. I really, really love the way this thing handles with the setup. Like you see here, it's a very well-balanced rifle. But we'll have more about that coming soon. For the rest of you, I apologize that this is a little bit of a short video, but we've got some things in the works behind the scenes that we're trying to get taken care of, so we're kind of crunched for time. But we're still getting them out there, and we're still producing quality content for you guys to watch. So thank you for watching, and until next time, get out and shoot!